G'day folks, welcome, thank you for joining me. Be getting underway shortly. Do appreciate you being early birds though. Welcome, welcome. Let me know whereabouts you are in the world and what time it is there. I'd love to know where everyone is from. I'll be with you in one sec. Okay. Welcome everyone. Hello Arlene, welcome. Whereabouts are you from? Where are you dialing in from today? Or not dialing in, that's pretty old terminology. So yeah, as we're just getting set up here, let me know where you're watching from. Love to know. Ria, 3 a.m. in Greece. Wow, thank you very much for joining me. That's dedication or insomnia, one of the two, but hey, I appreciate you joining me very much. Thank you. Arlene in Tennessee, very good. One of my goals is to get to Memphis, Tennessee some stage, down Beale Street, and go and see the King's House. Michelle, welcome. In Brisbane, just down the road. Nelson Bay, 10 a.m. Thanks Tracy, thanks for joining us. Hi Doreen in Australia. Whereabouts in Australia, Doreen? Let us know. Where's Nelson Bay? Is that down Byron Bay Way? I'm not really sure. But I appreciate you guys joining me as I choke on my cup of tea. So we're going to have a bit of fun today. We're going to do a bit of a painting. Oh, just one second. I'll go and get the actual painting I'm going to do. Pardon me. Where is it? Sorry about that. Sydney. Thanks, Doreen. Appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, I did these little wave paintings a couple of months ago. People really enjoyed them, so I thought we'd do something like this today. Same size, 8 by 10 inch, and we'll just do a little wave painting just to show you the process and the structure. I'm going to do it in oils, so that should be a bit of fun. And there's that one there as well. Actually, I kind of like that one a bit better, so we might use that as a reference. Nelson Bay is north of Newcastle. Okay, cool, I should know that. I've got family up that way. So I'm going to do something along those lines. I'll show you how to do a little wave study painting. We might do a little headland and so on. Should be a bit of fun. So let me just pop those somewhere where I can see them that won't get paint on them. Always important. Cool. All right. Well, first things first, thank you very much. I hope you all had a chance to watch the new Learn to Paint TV. Released the first episode, which was this painting here. That's Cabaretta Beach, which is in northern New South Wales, just near the Queensland border. And good little painting. So that was our first project, and got some great feedback. So hopefully you've had a chance to go and watch the Learn to Paint TV first episode there. This is our second episode coming up on Monday at Mullumbimby, which is also in northern New South Wales. It's a great little spot. As you drive into town, you see this great view of the mountain there. So that's going to be coming out on Monday. Really good little landscape painting to do, and a lot of depth and atmosphere in that one. So it's a good example of how to create good depth and atmosphere in your painting. So look out for that on Monday. I'll be releasing that episode, and we're going to do that every Monday. I'm going to release a new episode, and it should be good. And we'll do this every Thursday with a live stream. And then this one here. So this is one is probably going to come out week 3 or 4. Haven't decided yet. And I'm doing a giveaway today on the live stream for the first person to guess where that is. So I'll show you So that's a coming up episode of Learn to Paint TV. There's a photo. So I took this photo when I was on holidays, and I've had a few people already try and guess where that is on my Facebook page. However, nobody's got it close yet. So to win the prize, and the prize is going to be, I've just released a brand new acrylic painting course, acrylic painting techniques, which is all about different landscape elements and things like that. And it's about a 3-hour course, so it's a really good course. And so one person's going to win that today. And to win, just be the first person on the live stream to guess where I took that photo. Okay, so the first clue is it's not in Australia. So if you have a look closely, that's like an old world, sort of almost like a Tudor style. So it's definitely not in Australia because the house would be probably 300 years old, I would think, maybe 200. 300. I'm not really a historian, but so the first person to guess, and I'll give you clues as we go through the live stream today, but it's a great little subject, and that's why I thought we'd paint it for future episode of Learn to Paint TV, which be week 3 or 4, haven't decided yet. So put your thinking caps on, and I'll give you clues. So first clue, definitely not in Australia, right? Or New Zealand for that matter, because I think it predates Australian and New Zealand, colonisation. G'day Rick, welcome. GA, where's that? Georgia, I imagine. Hope you guys are all keeping safe as well with Hurricane Irma. That looks pretty serious. So if you're in the path of that, then all the best. I hope it all works out okay. We had a mini cyclone come through here last year, and pretty scary stuff. All right, so put your thinking caps on. First person to tell me the town, not in Australia, is what is going to win our new acrylic painting course. That's probably enough talking from me, so we'll get busy painting. Let me just rearrange myself. So I'm going to do this in oils. So you might not be able to see I've got this little table that I use for oils. It's got a Perspex palette that I mix the paint on, which I really enjoy for oil paints. And I'm just going to use a really scruffy collection of brushes. I mean, if you have a look at these, often people think that their brush is the problem, but I'm not so sure. You know, if you look at my brushes, they're a mess, right? I don't clean them well enough. Have a look at that one, right? It's all, yeah, but every brush has its purpose, and that's obviously been one I've been using to scrub in quite a bit with, so we'll just use those today. And then the colours I've got are ultramarine blue. So if you've done any of my courses, you'll know that our basic palette is ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, yellow ochre, and titanium white. So I've got those colours, and then I've also got cerulean blue and cadmium yellow and a phthalo green. So if you have a look in here, this is what we're going to try and replicate. There's a fair bit of phthalo green and cadmium yellow in that highlight there, but the rest of the painting is pretty much it's pretty much those 3 basic colours that we use, right? So we're going to do that, and you know, after it's dried off, I'll frame it up like I've done with these 2, and you'll see what the process is. Might do another video just on the framing for those who are interested as well. If you are, let me know. Good little frames, those. Okay, let us get underway. So we've got people from Georgia, Nelson Bay, Newcastle, Sydney, Tennessee, Greece. Fantastic. Appreciate you all joining me, I really do. If you enjoy this, then feel free to share the live stream so that other people you know can join in. So, I talk too much, so I do apologise. Once I get chatting, I can't help myself. So what I'm thinking is we'll just run the horizon line through the top third there, and I want to put in a little bit of a headland, something like that. So I'm just going to make this painting up. I'm not using any reference material for this. It's just going to be completely made up. G'day Lorraine in Canada, thank you for joining us. Just had a number of friends head over to Canada for the Toastmasters International Convention. Yeah, so I'm just completely making this painting up, but we'll do a little headland there, which means we'll have a little bit of a wave happening around about there and some rocks. Okay. So basically what I'm doing is just finding where I want my big shapes to be. Step one of the Moore method of painting. For those of you who have been through the Moore method of painting, you know, our different course, I mean, we talk about it all the time, so hopefully you're familiar with that concept. And then we'll do a wave, main wave through there. So whenever I'm doing wave paintings, I always like to have one main wave. And I'll have it breaking around about there. Around about there. Okay. So that'll be the green highlight part of the wave there. And then I'll just run it down that way. So we'll do a little bit of a simplified version of it today, I think. Arlene's just said yes please, but I've forgotten what for. For the framing, yes, I remember now. Cool. Now, nobody's tried to guess yet where that's from, so maybe I've made it too hard for you. Okay, so I'll give you another clue. It's in Europe. So, not in the UK, although I've travelled a lot in the UK, and my wife's from the UK, so I've got a lot of photos, and we'll do future projects there, but this is in Europe. So, what town is that one right there? And if you get it right, first person I see who gets it right, you're going to win a free painting course. G'day Janet, thank you for joining us in Nova Scotia. Appreciate that. Okay, so I've got a breaking wave there. Now because I've got main element here, I've got a main element sort of here. I want to put some rocks in as well, but it's a matter of balance. So maybe the rocks need to be a little bit more centered, something like that. And we could maybe put some flatter rocky shelf there, something like that. Rita, thank you for tuning in anyway. But you'll be able to watch this on the playback. So. Okay, so that's our main wave. We might put some ripples through there. We might not. We'll see how it unfolds. Okay, so that's pretty easy, yeah? That is a really simple thing to do, just to map that in. Now, next step is to establish our we'll probably establish our darks, I think, for our next step. Feel free to ask me questions as we go here today too. I'm happy to answer questions. So let's get our darks in. This is going to be our darkest dark here, and then this won't be, we'll downplay that quite a bit. So to mix up a dark for the rocks, I'm going to use alizarin crimson yellow ochre and a little bit of ultramarine blue in there. But I want it to be sort of a warmy brown dark tone, something like that. And I'll just shape those in. So this is our blocking phase of the Moore method, just blocking in colour, getting the tones and the values right. Probably make that a little bit warmer. Just add a little bit more alizarin crimson into that. Something along those lines. G'day Ireland. Must be late in the evening for you, but I appreciate you joining in. Who is it? Anna. Welcome, Anna. Fantastic that you've joined us. Okay, so I'll do my rocks there. I'll just cool it down a little bit with a little bit of blue just for this section in here. So a little bit of a rocky. Now I might cover that in wave, you know, breaking wave over that, who knows. But for the moment I think that's going to work there. Okay, so nobody's even had a guess yet. I think I have made it too hard. Okay, it's in France. I'll just keep giving you clues until somebody guesses. G'day, Marnie in Canada. Welcome. Yeah, so it's in France. I went there in 2012. Went to Paris and a few other places. So, what town is that photo taken in? Now, for our headlands at the back here, I want it to be there, but I don't want it to be, prominent in the painting. So it's going to be a dark blue-grey, which I'm just mixing up. Test that, that's close. I'll grey it off with a little bit of yellow ochre and red into it. Quite a runny mix, that actually. Just try and create some interesting shapes in the headlands here, but not too interesting that it's going to attract unnecessary attention. Put some rocks in the front there, so I'll just indicate a couple of little rocks in there. Can you see the difference I've just put in that red there? Just to start to establish just a different colour, different temperature in there, just so that I can start to get the rocks established in there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'll just switch to the sky. I won't do the sky blue. I'll add a little bit of warmth into it. So a nice soft pastel-y tone, I think, is what we'll go for in the sky. So again, I'm just using my primary colours at this stage. My ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, yellow ochre. So it's all a combination of those three. Right? So put a little bit of warmth into the sky because we're going to have cooler tones in the water. Okay. So I'll add a bit of warmth into the sky. It'll just make for a bit of contrast. Bit of hot pink there. It's always good against a nice dark headland too to have a bit of warmth in the sky. So this is a pretty easy sort of approach to painting a sky. I'm just popping colour notes down really is what I'm doing. Feel free to ask any questions, guys. Happy to answer any. A little bit of cerulean blue into that sky. Just picking up a little bit of that dark, that's quite wet through there. I used a fair bit of thinner in that spot there, so it is fairly wet. And when I clip it, it's just pulling it into the sky area there. But however, I don't mind it because I want to have a nice soft edge along here. So whenever you want something just to not be too prominent in the painting, you want it to sit in the background and not really be noticed, but to be there, just soften all the edges out, because hard edges attract the eye, and then the soft edges, recede into the distance, and the eye doesn't tend to get as attracted to them. Okay, let's get a slightly thicker paint with the cerulean blue. Put that in there, a little bit in there. Okay. Marnie, I don't really have a clear image. I'll show you what we're painting because I think you just joined us late. But so that's what we're working on, is doing something along those lines. So I've just mapped out a composition, just made it up basically with big shapes. I've got the headland there, got our main wave and some rocks just to show how we paint different elements. But we're working towards doing something along those lines that can be framed up, which is, if you're an artist and you're looking maybe to take that next step and to start selling a few pieces, then doing little paintings like this, finding a supplier for frames, which is what I do. I sell those for $140 or so. The frames cost me, I buy them in bulk, so they don't cost much. So that's what we're sort of working towards. A little 8x10 that can then be framed up. So I haven't got a photo reference or anything like that. It's just, introducing a couple of big shapes and working off that. So that's what we're doing. Okay, now I'll just give that brush a little bit of a clean. Let's work on that backwater. So for that backwater, I'll make it a bluey grey tone. So use our titanium white, ultramarine blue, and pinhead of the alizarin crimson, and a pinhead of the yellow ochre. So hopefully you can see that there. Maybe if I do that, just a tiny little bit of the two, and I'm just mixing in with some ultramarine blue and some titanium white. And have a look at the colour it's got. It's got a mauve, right? So what do you do when you mix up a tone and it's completely wrong for what you want? Panic is usually what my first reaction is. But no, we'll just add more ultramarine blue to that mix. It's obviously got a bit too much red and yellow into it. So I'll add a bit more ultramarine blue, a bit more white. Okay. Now have a look at it. See how it's gone to, it's a grey blue, which is what I want. However, if I put that up there, it's way too dark. And that's what I want to have in here when I work on that a bit more, is I want to have that tone up in there. But for the backwater, it's just too dark. So I've got the bluey grey that I wanted, but now what I need to do is just lighten the value of it. So I'll just mix that right down with titanium white. Okay, and now it's like a silvery blue, which is getting closer. If I pop that next to the previous mark, you can look at the difference there. It's the same colour mix as that there. It's just that I've lightened the value right off. So, g'day Kelly in Werribee. I used to work in Werribee. Don't miss it though, mainly because of the weather. Prefer it up here, but welcome. Richard, I'm using oil paint. Richard, yeah. So we're using oil paint for the live streams mostly, but I'll mix it up a bit. Welcome guys, appreciate you joining us, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. If you are enjoying the live stream, please use the share button and share it. I'd really appreciate that. this is our prize giveaway is for the first person to correctly guess. Now, I've told you it's in France. It's a town that I visited, which should give you a clue as well. 2012, I visited there, and I was walking along and found this little village. Well, actually, no, I was in a village, and I was walking out of the village on this little path, and that's the, what I came across. That cottage. Now, that's going to be an episode of our Learn to Paint TV show coming up in a few weeks. But I'm giving away to the first person who guesses the town, right? First person who guesses the town, I'm giving away our acrylic painting techniques, our brand new painting course in acrylics. So just have a guess. Nobody's guessed yet. So I'll keep giving clues until we get somebody to guess. For a moment there, Richard, I thought you were guessing Wallen, but it's definitely not Wallen. So, all right, so that's kind of what I wanted in the back there. It's not exactly right, but I'm not going to fuss too much with it just for the moment. I'll just put it down and then we can adjust. Okay, so as I come forward, I'll darken it up slightly with a bit more of the ultramarine blue, and I'll just start pushing it a little bit green. I'll just blend those two edges in. Okay. Now, because I've got such quite strong colours in here, I need to sort of get that into the water as well. What am I painting on? Good question, Kristen. This is just canvas roll. It comes on a roll, and I just cut it out so it's an 8x10 and tape it up here. And the reason why I do that is if I sell them online, if the person doesn't want it framed who buys it, then I can just roll it into a tube and post it. And it's also great for storage. So if you do a lot of painting and you're doing it on stretch canvas all the time, then you run out of places to put them. So this is a really good way of doing it. So yeah, I find this a great. It's got a fair bit of texture in the tooth. It's like a medium grain canvas, and it's been primed obviously. So yeah, you can buy on a big roll. I should show you the roll maybe on another live stream. Buy it on a huge roll on eBay, and you get a lot of mileage out of it. So that's what I am painting on today. Okay, we'll just strengthen up that green a little. One of the things I do a lot of is stand back and look. So I've got my cuppa. I'm just going to stand back and have a look and see how it's going. And I think it's going okay. Got to be careful I don't make this too big. But let's start working on this wave here now. So I'll just grab a hold of this one. Let me just clean my hands. I don't want to get paint on my frame. Because I want to show you the wave. Oh, I've already got a bit of paint on there, bugger. Okay. If you have a look at this, there's a lot of shadow in a wave, right? If I put it up close, you can see there's all that purple in there. All that shadow tone, really important part of it. Now when you're looking at it up close, it doesn't look right. When you look at it on a wall from a distance, which is how paintings are, viewed mostly, then it all sits nicely in place. So we need to get that shadow tone. If you want to get these highlights and get this highlight of the water to really pop, you need to have the dark. So see how there's this really dark green underlying there? These strong darks, and it makes all the highlights pop out. So the shadows, very important part of any painting. In fact, I'm thinking about doing a course on values and so on, light and shade, because I think it's such an important part. So let me mix up a shadow. So the shadow tone is just ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson, and I'll just keep it on the cool side. And get this mix right. Grey it back a little bit with some yellow ochre. G'day Colin, thanks for joining in, mate. I'm just reading your question there, talking about the backwater being an intense blue. I think any intense colours is going to draw the eye to it, so you need to think about where do you want the eye to be drawn to. So in this case, because we're doing a wave painting, I really want the eye in here where the highlight is, so therefore I'm sort of greying off everything in the background and just muting everything as much as possible in the back. Even though I've got some bright colours here, when I really pop this up and make it really intense highlights in here, that's where the eye will come to. So yeah, sometimes people do paint very bright backwater, but it will draw the eye to it, which is not what we want. Even like little things like, you can see here I've got a hard line along that back line there. I need to blur that. I need to just mix that in and just blur it together so it's not so hard. So I hope that answers your question, Colin. Let me know if it doesn't, but I appreciate you joining us, mate. What did you guys all think of the first episode of Learn to Paint TV? I'd love to hear your feedback. And I'm looking to, I'm going to take it to commercial TV in 2018, but I want to get the format right. And your feedback is invaluable, obviously, for that. So let me know what you thought, if you enjoyed it. Obviously for TV, we're only going to do a 30-minute segment, and with a 30-minute segment, we have to edit it down to 25 minutes for TV commercials, but I can't do a painting in 25 minutes. I talk too much. So the painting takes me, I've made that way too big, I think. I need to push that back. Yeah, the painting takes me an hour and a half minimum sort of time frame, and it has to be edited down. But I appreciate your feedback. Be interested to hear what your thoughts were as well. So let me now get some dark green happening. Just to run through as a shadow underneath. Wipe out some of that there. It's a good thing about oils. Just wipe off anything that's not working. So the key to getting your highlights to work is getting your darks in. Welcome, Gloria. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so you can see that's quite a bit darker than the water behind the wave. But then I don't want to maintain that sort of darkness, so what I'll do is I'll warm the water up a little bit with some cadmium yellow, and I'll just lighten it with some titanium white as it comes forward. Quite grainy, this canvas, so that's why you see me scrubbing to get the to get the paint to take into the tooth of the canvas. Okay, so nobody's had a guess yet as to where that cottage is. And I really want to give away the painting course to a winner. I want somebody to have a guess and win, right? So it's in France. There's a little village I went to. The village is well known for artists. A lot of art activity happening around that village. What town is it? What town is it? Can we get somebody to guess correctly? Just mixed up a grey-blue muck there. Muck off the palette. I'll pop a bit of it in there as well. Okay, it's starting to come together. Now with the wave sort of rolls up and over. And so the bottom part of it's going to be dark, and as it rises up towards the top, it's going to have, the water's not going to be as thick, it's going to be quite thin, and that's where the light comes through. So that's what we need to do, is continue that dark up, and then just get a bit lighter at the top there, and I'll just remix up that dark. Just added a little bit of phthalo green into that now. Colour I don't use much, but quite good in waves. Welcome Eileen from Newfoundland. I'm not even sure where that is, but I appreciate you tuning in. That sounds like it would be in the US somewhere, but I really don't know, but I appreciate you joining us. Okay, now with that I'm going to now add cadmium yellow to it. Okay, so I'll take that same mix, I'll add cadmium yellow, and I'll add a touch of titanium white. So you can see it there. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, and I'm using thicker paint now. I'm not putting any thinner into it. I'll run that along the top. Okay, and where the two meet, soften and blend that through. So you can see the waves starting to form up there now. Okay. Now what we'll do is add more cad yellow, we'll add more titanium white. Okay, so that's the next little layer, and I'll just run that through along the top there. And I'll probably need to come back and keep applying more and more intense colours there. I think that's going okay. What do you guys think? Travelling okay at the moment? Tell you the one thing I am concerned with. So this is when, you know, as you develop yourself as an artist, thank you for whoever's liking that. I really appreciate it. So if you like what we're doing, hit the like and the heart. Really appreciate the feedback, and feel free to share it as well. But one of the things to be, when you're developing yourself as an artist, is to think, how am I going to tie everything together, right? I've got this lot of warmth up in here. That can't just sit there on its own in isolation. It needs to be integrated into the rest of the painting. So how do I do that? Well, I can take these pinky tones and use them as highlights on the rocks, definitely. I can use them as little highlights on top of some ripples through here and here, and maybe just introduce more of that colour into the body of the water as we as we progress. Thanks, Colin. Appreciate that. So you just got to be thinking that way. You don't want to leave that up there in isolation because that won't it won't end up looking right. Everything's got to be integrated. And this paint up here is quite thin, quite wet still, so I'll just pull some of it out, and I think we need to get some thicker paint happening up there. Let me just mix up that bluey grey again. So this time with no thinner in it now. Just pop a little bit of red into it. A rocky face there. Alright, kind of feel like my wave's running downhill because I do this all the time, because I stand to one side so the camera can see. I always end up painting everything on a funny angle, so we need to eliminate that. It needs to run through more like that so that it tracks better. It's looking a bit better. Okay. Now, this backwater now is starting to not quite work for me. As I put the other information in there, it changes the way things look. So let me just get in a little bit more on the green side in there. Right. G'day Darlene, thank you very much for joining us. Hope things are good in Canada. Remember our prize giveaway? It's a village that's very, very well known for its art, and a famous artist lived there. So, first person to guess the name of the town, famous artist lived there. All right, now what we're going to do is just test a little bit of highlight tone in there now. So we're going to highlight in through there, and maybe a little bit more across the top and in there, possibly. Just thinking it through. Gloria Chin, correct, Givany, well done. So that was a little, it's not actually in Givany, but it's like, I don't know, maybe a mile out of Givany, a little path that leads down to the main town where you get the bus from. And of course, Givany is the home of Monet, where I went and visited his home. So congratulations, you win. And if you message me on Facebook, I'll send you the details. So well done. Okay, now, that's good. So I gave the clue at the right time, I think. Let me just mix up a highlight. Now, I don't want to do the highlight in white. I want to try and now pull in some of this tone in here. So you can see I've got this pinky tone in the white. I'm just going to test that. And I'm using this brush that's quite scruffy. And the reason why it's quite scruffy is because of this painting technique, which I call scrubbing. So that's probably not as strong. You can see the hairs on it are all over the place there. That's probably not as bright as what we want the highlight on the wave to be, but it's a start. And often to get the highlight right, I'll push the paint back and forward. I'll wipe it out if I don't like it. I don't always get it right first go. And it's integrating, of course, with that purple in there as well. Not sure how far along the wave we actually take it. And we'll leave a dark section in there. Okay. So now that I've got that in, I'll come back now and I'll add more phthalo green and cadmium yellow and titanium white. Got to be careful with that phthalo green, it's a beast, dominates. Actually, that's Pop that in, and then I'll just soften that. All right. Just going to try and mix up this tone here as a highlight now. So it's pretty easy to refine the colour. This is the advantage of using a very limited palette, is that you can always remix your colours. And if you haven't done our colour mixing course, highly recommend it. Help you to understand how to find colours. So if you can see there, I've just mixed up yellow ochre, alizarin crimson, titanium white. It's the same as what I've got in the back there. It's a little bit more intense, so not as much titanium white. And we just test it as a highlight on these rocks. Paint's a little bit wet in there, but we shall persist. So that starts to connect the two, brings the same tone of colour into two different areas there, which I think, as I talked about before, pretty important. Can take that tone there. Highlight that up. So I'm just playing around with some highlights, just testing. That could be a little bit bright, We'll see. Palette knife just makes it a bit easier to get the paint on. Yeah, because it's streaming on Facebook. Facebook records it, so you can watch it on Facebook afterwards. Okay. building up that crashing wave just bit by bit. So I can reshape the wave just by pushing the dark back up into it. Putting another little breaking wave just through here, I think. So I've just mixed up a dark green. Getting there little bit by little bit. Let me know if you have any questions, guys. I'm happy to answer them. Okay, now at this point, what I can do, if I can just find a squiggly brush, take a little script liner brush and just start to play around with and build up. So you don't want this to be pure white, you want it to be a grey. But just little squiggles of foam. We'll start to bring a little bit more life in there. Now you want a very soft brush at this point and dry. So I'll just clean it, soften it, and obliterated that one. Back to some green there. Just repairing that little bit of carelessness there. I'll just let that dry off a bit and then I'll soften that back in. So that little bit of foam there is probably a little bit too close. So I didn't think that through well enough, so that's okay. What I'll do is I'll just wipe that out. It needs to be a little bit lower down. That bit's doing there. So as you can see, it's a process of just working back and forward now. We're getting down to the sort of detail, fussy part of the painting, and then balancing. So I'm looking at how bright I've got everything in here in green now, and I feel like it just needs to be a touch greener out the back. Otherwise, they're not sort of connected. So I'll just balance it out by putting more green there, and then it starts to make it look more integrated. Unfortunately, Darlene, I can't really get it any closer because the tripod's not tall enough. So I do apologise. I haven't quite got the right formula yet for the live stream. Just going to blur that edge now. It's distracting me too much. Okay. Just going to change the tone on the horizon there. More of a mauve. Just felt like a little bit too bright. I can put a little bit more red back into it, but soften that all back. It felt like the sky was jumping forward a little bit too much. Okay. Alright, going to go for maybe another 5-10 minutes, and then I'm going to have to wind it up, unfortunately. So what I'll probably do is finish this later on today and post up some photos of the finished painting. Add a little bit of colour into this distant headland a little bit. G'day Teresa, thank you very much. Appreciate you joining us. A little bit of colour in there, and so with that green that I put in there, the greens and yellows, again just ties back into the main body of the water. Now I'm getting myself into a bit of a mess here, so I'm going to just give myself a clean. I don't know if am I the only messy painter out there, or you guys end up getting in a mess as well. Problem is, if I don't clean it, it ends up on my clothes, my computer, pretty much everywhere. So how are we going with this? I think we're travelling along okay. It's going to require probably another hour or so, I think, and I'm going to have to wind it up because I've got a meeting to go to. I need to really focus in here, get that working properly, because at the moment it's not quite right. And I think probably the one thing that I need most, which I'll just pop that in and show you, is I need a darker shadow in there. So I'll mix up my ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, okay, with less titanium white, so it's that sort of tone, and I'll just test that and push that back up into the shadows there. And I think it needs that because look at the dark at the bottom of the wave there. And that'll give more contrast against the foam as I develop the foam up more. So that's where I'll probably spend most of the time just tweaking. And it's probably the most boring part, I think, of painting. So I won't bore you with it. Eileen, would I come to Canada and do a teaching tour? What you do is, thank you, Eileen. I really appreciate that. I would if somebody promoted it. So if I had a promoter who organised all the bookings and venues and so on. Not having been to Canada, I wouldn't even know where to start. But if somebody who had the capacity to, organise venues and marketing, promotion. I mean, I'd obviously promote it on my social media and so on. But yeah, I would, in partnership with the right person. So if you know somebody, or if that's you, then send me a message. Always happy to go to Canada. Not that I've ever been, but certainly I've got tons of people actually. Canada, I've got a lot of people on my database who watch my YouTube and on the Facebook and everything. A lot of people from Canada. So I appreciate all my Canadian friends. Just shaping the bottom of that wave now a little. So you can see it's just like to get it to just to be right, it's just process of just back and forward, moving paint. And so on. So on and so forth. Okay, this is quite warm here, isn't it? It's competing too much with this wave. I think that's part of the problem. I've got the highlights here maybe too warm. So I'll work back into those, tone those down a little bit so that this becomes our main highlight. So that whole balancing, side of it. If you want a more curve so the wave comes forward more, but before it actually crashes, would that be a matter of dragging your palette down on the left of the wave? I'm not sure what you mean by that exactly. On the left of the wave of here, so the water is going to be rising up that way and then rolling over that way, which is why I'm trying to shape that foam that way, which I haven't quite got right yet. So I need a bit more work in there, just getting that crashing water to look right. I think I can see what you mean actually. I've painted that probably the opposite of what it needs to be. The water will be going up that way. So I might have to redo that section. Let me just quickly do that now before we tune out. It just occurred to me that I've got that round the wrong way. Let me just wipe that out through there. Okay, so the way I should have done those bits of foam there was running this way, because the water's going to be rolling up and then over. So it probably needs to be more like this here. More running like that way. Thanks, Lorraine. Appreciate that. No worries, Darlene. I understand. If you come across anybody, then have a chat to them. Dorothy, I hope that explains the wave a bit more. The water's running up that way and then crashing over that way. So I've got to rework all this area in here. It's by no means finished. It'll make more sense when I get it more established. But anyway, we're going to leave it there, and as I said, I will work on this over the next day or so, and then I'll post up a photo on our More Art School page to show you the finished result. Thank you very much for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed it, and look out for the next episode of Learn to Paint TV. They'll be going up on Monday, and I'll start doing this at this time every week as well. So look out for that. And have a great day. Thanks all very much for joining us. Cheers.